earlier today, in a tease for Tyreek Hill's new podcast launch, it's going to be launching next week on the 10th. It called "It Needed to Be Said." He released a soundbite where he, his agent Drew Rosenhaus, say that he actually didn't want to leave Kansas City, never demanded a trade, but his host, not him, his host kind of inferred that the Chiefs did not utilize him, and he also suggested that he said that they suppressed his stats to lower his value. Now, Tyreek Hill didn't say it, the host did. But in the tease, Tyreek doesn't deny it. And that's kind of where a lot of Chief fans are like, okay, you're complicit with what he's saying. You're not denying it. Although it's only it's a 58-second tease. So, but I will say in that there is time where he says right instead of dispelling the notion, but he's listening to the host continue to go on. So, so a lot of people's comments online went crazy about this.
Well, and once the season was over, we reached out to the Chiefs and we said, hey, we want to keep it going. Tyreek wanted to be there. Tyreek wanted to be in Kansas City.
That's you say that again. Tyreek wanted to be in KC.
Wanted to be in Kansas City.
Wanted to be in KC.
We tried to do an extension with that.
Tried, man.
So I got a follow-up question on that. All right. So this wasn't a situation that you demanded a crazy amount of money, right?
No,
this was a situation where you know what you're capable of. Drew knows what you're capable of.
Correct.
The team knows what you're capable of, but they just didn't utilize you. Now follow up on that.
Right.
Do you think this was a situation to suppress his stats, to drop that value down when it came to a potential trade or a signing?
So coming off a year where this guy was third in the league in receptions, seventh in targets, we're talking about him not being utilized properly. I mean, I think it's hard to say the guy, his stats were suppressed and he wasn't utilized properly. When you have numbers like that, but I guess there's a lot to go on here. JD, what are your comments on this whole thing?
Well, you see me laughing over here, right? I mean, it's laughable. It's laughable for a guy to make an assertion. Oh, well, they wouldn't utilize you right. I guess they try to divide. Come on, man. Man, cut it out. They ain't better do that. Like everybody knows. Look, Tyreek Hill, one of the most dangerous weapons in the game. Okay, to ever probably play the game. To be honest with you, to say that the Chiefs didn't utilize him, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous, even to say something like that. And I think, man, we're talking about like that salacious talk again and try to lead him. And I see that little segment that he did. And I know the soundbite is 58 seconds. We'll know more, of course, next week. But I think Tyreek was kind of listening to the question. The guy was kind of running off after I kind of analyzed it a little bit. The guy was like, well, yeah, they didn't utilize you and then they only value you. And Tyreek's kind of like, kind of threw his head to the side like, yeah, like, I ain't quite, no, I wouldn't say that. He said that. He might say, well, you said that. I didn't say that. You said that. So I don't know. I don't know who the interview is, but it seems to me like he was trying to lead a question and lead him into a way for it to be to create a narrative that may not even be Tyreek's. That might not even what Tyreek said. I know he didn't say it, at least on that little segment at 58 seconds of it, because he said that Drew was sitting there saying like, man, we tried to get the deal done. He wanted to stay in Kansas City, which I believe he did. I believe he wanted to. Now, I'll say this, and I don't know the full timeline with everything, how it was going on, but I think the effort to keep a guy like Tyreek here, and I don't know on what scale it was, on how adamant they were on trying to get him and keep him here, that's still the negotiation part of it. That's the business part of it, right? And all these things, it takes time. But sometimes, man, to me, where I might do something different, I'm like, man, Tyreek Hill, yeah, let's get this done. You could have probably got him a deal done sooner, where now all of a sudden, you're not bidding against yourself. You're not now. You don't have Devontae Adams come up and talk about what him making something $30 million a year, right? You might be able to get Tyreek for 25 if you did it earlier, okay? And sometimes these things is just timing. Sometimes it is the negotiation part of it. And of course, Drew, man, I know Drew, and Drew's going to do a great job as far as like, hey, man, listen, we're going to make sure that we capitalize on every single possibility that we got out here, right? And I'm sure he was talking to other agents and, hey, what is guys talking about over here? So that's part of the game. That's part of business. The thing is, if the Chiefs decided to take care of it earlier and say, look, you know what? Let's go ahead and get Tyreek here. Let's not mess around with this thing and just snap him up, right? And just, hey, we'll just keep rolling like we are. But it didn't happen that way. So how it works, man, in business and time, and that's it. As soon as Tyreek seen that money come out, cha-ching, Drew's like, oh, yeah, we got to see that. Devontae got that? We definitely got to see that. And so all of a sudden, it priced out the market as far as for the Chiefs. The Chiefs like, hey, man, look, that's a hefty price. Yeah. So we got to start thinking about what we're going to do in the future, what we're going to be able to get. Maybe, shopping it around. And I think that's where things kind of went sour because it wasn't really they didn't respond as fast as they thought, like, to the 30 million. Like, oh man, I don't know about this. Yeah. So that's it, man. I just the talk's going to come, and it's been happening all season since we lost him. That now the same thing. I see people. Well, we don't need him anyway. And all is look, Tyreek Hill was a monster. Come on, man. Any team would love to have him. We would still love to have him. Look, I get, look, and it worked out for us, right? Hopefully Tyreek's happy down there in Miami. He feels Tua's throwing him a great ball, the greatest ball he's ever been thrown, or maybe, I don't know, right? I don't know. But hey, we got a lot of draft picks. We got the capital to get some guys here to able to help out and benefit the entire team, right? I mean, that's what we got, the 12 picks to benefit the entire team. And so we got, hey, MVS, we got Juju, we got Skyy Moore, we got Justyn Ross. Everybody want to talk, we got guys over here. We still got McCole. So we got guys here. And so the thing is, up and down the board, like I said, wide receiver room, hey, man, we good. I think we benefited just from his level of talent. Yeah. That we were able to, like I said, to capitalize off of, because of that, because he is Tyreek Hill and he is worth $30 million. So that's the reality.
Yeah. I mean, we won't know, obviously, the context of this entire thing. This is a tease. And quite frankly, they did a pretty good job picking out the perfect, back and forth, kind of banter to put as a tease to tease his podcast next week. So kudos to them for that. I will say though, and I kind of mentioned to open these questions, like if I was asking you a question, and plus for people to say, because I think that was kind of scripted to be kind of like a
seemed like it. It did.
Like it was scripted, especially if they knew they were going to use this as a tease. Because, for most people, I'm assuming our viewers know, we kind of go over our questions before we go on the air with it. If it's a question that, it's like, there's really not much there. Let's, scrap that question. We'll do something else,
Yeah, we started doing that recently.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah. We figured like, hey, it's good to actually, have, like you said, some talk and some banter about these things and these issues beforehand. Right. But we don't, you do a great job of not putting any gotcha questions or lead up questions, or we don't try to do, to me, it's like clickbait. It really is, right? Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, every movie trailer has all the great parts in it, right? Because it's supposed to pull you in, right? Oh, shoot, I want to see this movie. I want to go check this Joker out. Yep. So I think this is kind of like, in that field of thought, right? Mm-hmm.
Because what was the biggest story this year for in the offseason? The Devontae Adams was one, and the next big one was Tyreek leaving Kansas City. I mean, that could be arguably be the number one story of the offseason. And, what are you going to tease your show with? You're going to tease it talking about another Tua ball again. You can't tease it like that. So you got to kind of tease it, and be kind of provocative with it. And I think saying something like this where, he wasn't utilized, it's like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, shoot. He could have sent a question out just on the teaser, like, so tell me all the problems you had with the enemy and Mahomes in the room, because I heard y'all had some things going on, and he'd be like, click, cut that clip off right quick, right? It's like, wait, no. And people will start talking, and they'll jump all over and start talking about it, right? So, like you said, we have to wait for the context to come out to see. But look, man, we know what it is. We've seen the product out on the field. What goes behind closed doors and whatnot. Hey, things do happen, right? These things do happen. We talking about grown men, talking about business and family And so, these things are going to get right. And especially, look, Drew has Tyreek's his interests at hand. Bottom line, period. So Drew was like, he's an agent. He's like, look, it ain't no love lost. Look, somebody's going to get us paid. We just got to make sure we're going to put it on your table because that's what we're supposed to do respectfully. Why not? Right.
Plus, Rosenhaus doesn't want to have a shitty relationship with the Chiefs either because he has other clients who are going to, be working with Veach on other stuff. So he's not going to have a bad relationship there. Right. I do want to ask this though, because a lot of, sometimes when you see tweets like you kind of look at the comments like what are people saying on these things. And the one thing I did notice was that some people were saying, the suppression of his stats. Look, he only had 9 touchdowns last year. It's like they wanted his cap number to be lower. And no, we have Travis Kelce. We have other guys in the room who are eating up targets and shares. And
that's crazy.
I want to ask you about suppression of stats. Does that happen in real life? That happens in movies. It doesn't happen in the NFL when winning's in the picture.
What I will say is this: for a team that has been winning, that is a championship team, that wouldn't make any sense to do because it's all about winning. That's what you want to be able to do. And so, will I say that it doesn't happen? I'm sure it does. I know of instances of guys maybe not getting their bonuses because of the captures,
right,
or taking them out. No doubt about that. So that does happen too. I wouldn't say it happened on a grand scale of things.
Right.
I won't say that because then all of a sudden what you have to do, if it does happen, it personally, man, go to the media. Go shoot, sing out here. Hey man, look, this is how they did me. What it is, yada, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
But to say that about Tyreek, and then because what you're doing is you're ultimately hurting the entire team, which doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you take the ball out of your most explosive player out there on the field?
Yeah.
No reason, right? You're trying to win a championship. So once Kansas City got that taste, that good championship, yes, we want it each and every year. So taking it out of Tyreek's hand because you want to devalue him, that doesn't smell right. Not at all.
And I've seen that with the bonuses stuff. Like the guy needs 2 more tackles. Some teams, good PR story, they'll throw that guy back in the game to get his 2 tackles. Or you see guys get benched and they won't hit their bonuses. But this, to say it's a suppression of stats, it's kind of like an overall thing. Like because it was in the same breath that the guy says, "Oh, they didn't utilize you. It was suppression of stats to lower your value." I mean, they were looking at paying you $20-something million. I don't think they were trying to. I mean, they weren't trying to lower your value. If you're number 3 overall in catches, no one's trying to lower your value.
Right. And to be honest with you, if he really felt that way, he would have said, well, I didn't want to stay in Kansas City. Yep. But he immediately says, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be in Kansas City. Well, if you're being suppressed, your value and your catches and you're being utilized, you're not going to make that statement. Yeah. I don't believe that at all. So the guy would say, completely lead him into it. So, so he was underutilized and they tried to take your value. What? Wait a minute, hold on. And Tyreek's just listening, right? I mean, he's being interviewed, so he's listening, and maybe he dispels it later. But
maybe. The thing that kind of throws me off is he says right to him when he says they didn't utilize you or whatever the exact quote was. He
said right, but he said right,
and then he followed his follow up to that.
Yeah, to him moving like he said something else. He said right to that, but he didn't say right to like him saying underutilized. Yeah. He was saying. He said, and I want to push back on something else. He said, okay, or right, that's what it was. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see. I just think it's funny that, we're in June right now and the Chiefs and Tyreek is still being discussed. It's like, we've kind of moved on from that. I mean, obviously you don't see, there's no press conferences about Mahomes talking about Tyreek anymore. No one's talking about Tyreek anymore with us. It's between Chiefs talk. The only time I see Tyreek is when he mentions the Chiefs or, Tua's got a pretty ball like Mahomes or like Tua, he's going on the Tua tour trying to the Tua PR tour trying to talk him up. But it's like we've moved on. We have our receiver room now. I mean, that's it. Tyreek was fun while it lasted.
Listen, you know this for a fact. Okay. It's like family and relationships. So if we see somebody in Hollywood break up, obviously, they're going to say, I don't know, let's say J-Lo and Ben broke up. And for the longest time when she got Mark Anthony, they was like, oh, I'm so happy now. And he's the most amazing guy. Look, and then you talk about that for a long time. Like we're talking about the Kanye and Kim Kardashian for a long time, and Pete Davidson, right? Because that's the new guy in the mix. And so Tua's the new guy in the mix, right? Yeah. So now, it goes hand in hand with these things. And so these relationships are not going to be over with until you start this season and you give it a whole year to kind of everybody settle in, Because look, Cheetah is still all around the city. I'm sure. Now you got to roll, paint over the murals and all those different things. And that's a lot there. That's a lot. People wearing number 10 jerseys. There's going to be number 10 jerseys with Hill on the back of the jersey in the stadium.
Yeah. That's the thing, though. It's like, I'm a jersey collector, and Tyreek Hill's, you can't. That's a jersey you wear to games. It's like, it's a good example of that. Okay, so Iverson went to, I'm not going to, the cultural impact Iverson has a little different than Tyreek Hill, as a generational thing. But I will say, Iverson went to the Nuggets. You still see Iverson jersey when he went to the Nuggets. You still saw Iverson jerseys in Philadelphia. Right. And, not comparing Iverson and Tyreek Hills, they're kind of the clout to their sport. But still, though, you saw those jerseys still in Philadelphia when he was playing with the Nuggets. And then when he played for the Grizzlies, Iverson jerseys were still around.
Absolutely.
We're still going to see Tyreek Hill jerseys for the rest of the time.
And Tyreek, I'm sure he'll still sign the jersey. Yeah, I'm sure. Hey, man, absolutely. Yeah, sure. They did a lot of good things out here, man. I love Kansas City. Yeah. So, yeah, man. Yeah. Clickbait or whatever you want to call it, come see our channel, those things.
They did the trick. I will say that the whole suppression of stats thing, and I see people like going on, the NFL's fixed, all these things. It's like, come on. That's why I kind of get annoyed with that stuff. It's like, it's not the movie Major League where you have the GM coming in there. Wow, this team, we're going to sell this team from top of the price, and they're going to be bad, and we're going to sell them. It's like, no, that's not how things work. Movies, yes, but not.
Yeah, come on, man. Yeah, look, man, there's too many moving parts, to get to that point. It really is, So, yeah.
I will say, I think if Andy Reid could go back in time, he would, develop more plays to try to get the ball into Tyreek's hands in the second half of that Cincinnati AFC Championship game. That's the only thing I will say. But that's not suppression. That wasn't a suppression of stats there.
We can debate that. This ball could have been in a whole lot of different people's hands, So I don't know.
Still trying to forget that game. It's hard not. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get podcasts.